Lan Wangji's eyes widened, and the light that usually faintly emanated from his cool, clear gaze deepened with an intense glow. That light froze for a moment, burning so fiercely it was almost terrifying, as he stared fixedly at Wei Wuxian. It was like a child who had their cherished possession taken away. A mix of shock, anger, grievance, and helplessness, rendering him unable to react, only able to stare at that object intensely, using the silence that engulfed his world to resist an unbearable loss. Wei Wuxian felt the scorching intensity of his gaze and lowered his eyes slightly, turning his face away to avoid it. Lan Qiren seemed very puzzled and slowly shook his head. "Ah, Xian, why are you being so resolute? The affection between you and Wangji are not only seen by me, but also by all the elders of the Lan clan. They earnestly want to give you both a chance to reconcile. So, they didn't agree to sect leader Jiang's proposed divorce, nor did they intend to blame or punish you for the recent mistakes." Wei Wuxian almost interrupted him, saying coldly, "Thank you for the Lan clan's magnanimity." His tone carried a trace of sarcastic discord. Lan Qiren was taken aback for a moment, sighed, and patiently said, "This time, there were indeed some shortcomings and inappropriate actions by the Lan clan. When you returned to Yunshan, I believe the elders—" Wei Wuxian, seemingly angered, interrupted him again, saying, "There is no need. Our temperaments are incompatible, and our family styles are different. So why force it? I know that my ways do not align with the elders' expectations, but the Jiang clan has always been generous, forthright, and natural, unconstrained by trivial formalities. I have always been this way, and do not plan to change in the future. The Lan clan is strict, and I do not want to go against my own wishes. From now on, let us part ways and go our separate paths." Every word was thorough and resolute, leaving no room for turning back. Lan Qiren seemed a bit anxious, and his usually calm and gentle voice rose slightly. "Fine. Let's set aside family rules and traditions for now. But Ah Xian, between you and Wangji, are you really willing to give up just like that?" Wei Wuxian's dark eyes froze momentarily, and he couldn't help but glance at Lan Wangji. He blinked quickly, seemingly unable to face this question, and averted his gaze. Lan Qiren looked somewhat helplessly at Wei Wuxian, then at Lan Wangji. "Wangji, if there's anything you want to say to Ah Xian, say it now, so you won't regret it later." Lan Wangji seemed to pull himself out of a petrified state. Under the silent gazes of everyone, he moved slightly and suddenly stood up from the ground. A dazzling white light cut through the cold atmosphere that had been oppressing the hall. With a few heavy and resolute footsteps, Lan Wangji advanced to stand in front of Wei Wuxian. Amidst the astonished gazes in the room, he bent down and reached into Wei Wuxian's embrace, grabbing his hand and pulling him up. Wei Wuxian was startled by his sudden action and, before he could evade, found his wrist seized. For a moment, he even forgot to struggle, and they stayed in a hand-holding position with Wei Wuxian looking up at Lan Wangji in a daze. Everyone held their breath. "Wei Ying." Lan Wangji's tightly pressed lips parted slightly as if unsure how to begin. After a moment of contemplation, he firmly said, "Come back to Gusu with me." Several people were astonished so much that they fell from the eaves of the sword-testing hall. Lan Wangji's direct and action-oriented approach, often praised in ordinary circumstances, was completely inappropriate for the current situation. This was the time for sweet talk to appease his spouse. His lack of romantic finesse and unrefined, almost bandit-like manner would undoubtedly have a counterproductive effect. Sure enough, Wei Wuxian tried to turn and leave, but against Lan Wangji's overwhelming strength, he truly felt like a helpless girl being bullied and seized. Despite using all his might, not only did he fail to pull his hand back even an inch, but he was also nearly yanked into Lan Wangji's embrace by an almost frighteningly fierce force. The actions of Lan Wangji unmistakably screamed, "What's mine was mine," and with such domineering intensity Wei Wuxian almost stumbled. Wei Wuxian struggled like in a tug of war, barely managing to free himself a little, his boots firmly planted on the floor in the effort. In the blink of an eye, Wei Wuxian was dragged back by Lan Wangji another half-arm's length, his boots almost scraping a mark on the floorboard. Wei Wuxian furrowed his brows and gritted his teeth, saying, "I won't go back." Lan Wangji, "Come home with me." Wei Wuxian, "I won't. I want a divorce." Lan Wangji, "No divorce." Wei Wuxian, "I want a divorce." Lan Wangji, "No divorce." Wei Wuxian, "Let go." Lan Wangji, "Not letting go." The two wrestled, pulling and tugging at each other, their forelegs almost twisted into a pretzel. Their mouths exchanged stubborn words and actions. The previously substantive conversation between Wei Wuxian and Lan Qiren had devolved into a childish and repetitive exchange between Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji, with both seemingly relying on sheer stubborn determination to outlast the other. It was expected from Wei Wuxian, but to see the usually refined and well-mannered Lan Wangji being driven to such childish behavior was truly unexpected. Everyone in the sword-testing hall was utterly stunned. Lan Qiren, who thought he knew Lan Wangji very well from growing up together, felt his worldview shattering. He had never imagined he would one day have to break up a fight involving Lan Wangji. He was at a complete loss as to how to proceed, calling out like an anxious ant on a hot pan, "Wangji, Wangji, Xian, stop fighting!" Zhang Fengmian had mediated countless disputes between Wei Wuxian and Zhang Qing, but this was his first encounter with a quarrel between the couple, leaving him unsure of how to intervene. Zhang Qing intended to sit and enjoy the show, but unfortunately, he ended up getting caught in the crossfire. The small table in front of him was kicked over by Wei Wuxian, sending teacups and teapots tumbling to the ground. Jiang Cheng cursed a few times while hastily protecting the panicked Zhang Yanli behind him and shouted at the entangled shadows, "Wei Wuxian, stop this at once! What kind of behavior is this?" The two who were wrestling fiercely paid no heed to the attempts to mediate, stumbling and struggling as they fought their way into the courtyard. The commotion was so loud that it attracted people from near and far. "Senior brother and brother-in-law are fighting." What? Let me see. Wow, they've been holding it in for so many days. Finally, they're fighting. Who do you think is more powerful? The Cold War of the past days had erupted into a hot war, and no one among the onlookers thought to intervene. The question of who was stronger, Lan Wangji or Wei Wuxian, was a frequent topic of conversation in swordsmanship classes, but in class, the two always played cat and mouse, never getting the chance to truly face off. Everyone was very curious, which directly led to the most popular non-reward betting event in Lotus Pier. Unexpectedly, they were being treated to a high-stakes showdown. Suddenly, priorities were rearranged in their minds, and the idea of breaking up the fight was quickly shelved to the last position. They hurried to bring a few broken chairs to the front row. Some placed bets, others collected money, shouted out encouragement, or provided commentary, each performing their role in an orderly manner. However, after a moment, someone finally couldn't hold back any longer. "How are they even fighting like this?" Someone's comment hit the point. "How low level." Both of them had famous swords from the prominent sects hanging at their waists, yet neither thought to use them. Instead, the most frequently used weapon turned out to be something else. Wei Wuxian. Lan Zhan. Why are you biting me? Are you a dog? Wei Wuxian, stop. If you bite me again, I'll really get mad, I'm telling you. Wei Wuxian. It hurts, Lan Zhan. Stop biting. Please, I'm begging you. Lan Zhan. Ergege. Lan Ergege. Little old-fashioned. I'm begging you. Wei Wuxian. Lan Zhan, you jerk. Watching Wei Wuxian gradually weakened and slumped, the crowd seemed to start understanding. Wei Wuxian. Ergege, don't bite there. The crowd. Why do I feel like we shouldn't be watching this?